Hi everyone, I'm Todd Gutner. Here on Gardening with Gutner, one of our objectives is to pass along the basics of gardening, including composting and mulching. Pamela Hargis from the Humane Cooperative Extension has some different types of mulch, and she shows us how to do it right. It's another edition of Gardening with Gutner. We have Pamela Hargis. She's a horticulture professional for the University of Maine Cooperative Extension in Cumberland County. And today we're talking mulch. We're going to start by looking at our veggie gardens here, Pamela, and this is just your standard straw, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So we typically recommend using straw instead of hay for vegetable gardens because it's going to have less weed seed in it. However, you could use some cardboard and newspaper underneath of the straw or hay to prevent weed seeds.
Weeds from growing underneath?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey Todd, come over here. You might be surprised by what you see growing in our bed.
What do you got? What do you got?
So we have peas and oats here that we sowed in the late summer. So that was about the beginning of September. And so essentially this grew to be about, a little bit more than a foot tall, and it was killed with the hard frost. And so basically what you can do is in the spring, it provides a nice mulch layer, and you can separate out the mulch, plant directly in the ground here, and then put the mulch kind of back in place without touching the stem of the plant.
Ah, interesting. Now, if I want to do this every year, can I reuse this, or do I have to plant another round in another crop of peas and oats?
Yeah, so it's an annual crop, so you would need to replant it, and it's not a lot of vegetation, so this will likely degrade over the course of the season, so you would want to replant it at the end of the summer.
All right, Pamela, we're out of the veggies, and this is your more standard mulch, one that I'm used to seeing. It's these wood chips that you get delivered in that big mound in the driveway. You go around the wheelbarrow, spread it out. But there is actually a right way to do this, spreading it out?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So you want to be really careful, especially with woody plants, that you're not putting the wood chips right against the base of the trunk. And in addition to that, you want to make sure that it's not too deep. So usually a couple of inches is enough. Okay,
we've got a little dogwood here. What's the problem?
Yeah, so you can see here, it's kind of what we call a volcano mulching situation.
Boy. Don't do the volcano, right?
So what you actually want to do is pull the wood chips away and expose the base of the trunk, and for the small tree, it might just be a couple of inches away. For a larger tree, it'll be wider than that.
What about reapplying every year? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so you really don't need to reapply every year. I would say it depends on how much you put down initially, but what I would recommend is just kind of fluff up the mulch a little bit each year, and you're good to go.
Great. So Pamela, for me, I find mulching to be a lot like weeding, an extra step, kind of a pain, but you think it's really important to a healthy garden.
It is. It actually can prevent weeds in your garden, and in addition to that, it can conserve water, especially during the heat of the summer.
Okay.
And in a vegetable garden, it does a really good job at preventing disease issues.
Pamela, this is our last stop. It's a perennial garden, and this is strange to see. This is your living mulch?
Yeah, that's right. So it's a living mulch. It's wild strawberry, which is a native plant, and it grows below like a ground cover among the herbaceous plants here.
You said wild strawberry. It produces fruit then, right?
It does, but unfortunately we don't get to eat any of them. All the critters around here eat the strawberries.
Oh man. Well, Pamela, thank you for joining us. That's everything you need to know about mulch. You can get the info on our website, our mobile app as well. And stay tuned for more Gardening with Gutner. Next, we're talking to Master Gardener Tom Witwicky, and he shows us how important it is to compost. We're back with more Gardening with Gutner. Today we're covering composting. We have Tom Witwicky. He's a master gardener. Tom, if you're a gardener and you actually don't compost, why should you change your mind and start doing it?
Well, the simplest reason is you're generating a lot of material in your property. Grass clippings, leaves, kitchen scraps, and you either upcycle them into compost or you have to bring them to the landfill.
Okay, so let's talk about it. This is a bin, right? This is one traditional way. What do you got here?
Yeah, this is a bin. You can be of any material. It should be at least 3 by 3. And anything goes in it as you generate it.
You've got leaves, sweet potatoes, and last night's dinner was an avocado included there in your salad, right?
Yeah, the only thing that shouldn't go in it is meat scraps.
Okay, good tip. No meat scraps, folks. Let's head down here. How long does it take for this stuff to break down?
Well, once a pile is finished, and this one is pretty much finished, it takes about a year.
Okay.
So I'll be able to start using that next spring.
Does it take a lot of work? Like, do you have to turn it and stuff like that?
Well, traditionally they say to turn the pile, and it does help with the breakdown faster, but I'm pretty lazy, so I don't turn it, and it turns out just fine.
That's music to my ears. I'm really lazy too. You end up with a great product like this that you can use in your gardens. When you're a master gardener, you come up with great ideas like this one. Tom, you've really kicked up your gardening skills here. What do you got?
Well, I use a lot of compost, and if you're going to use it for things like a potting mix, it needs to be screened finer. So I built this machine to do just that.
Yeah, it takes out the big stuff, leaves the smaller, good stuff behind, doesn't it?
That's exactly what it's doing.
All right, so let's go check out Tom's other composting method. So Tom, over here you have a simpler composting method. Everybody's got leaves and grass clippings. That's what we have, right?
Yes, it's leaves primarily. There's a bit of seaweed and chicken bedding as well.
Oh, so you beefed it up a little.
Yeah, the key point though is if you're going to compost with leaves, you really need to turn them. Otherwise the leaves mat and they take forever to break down.
Okay, so this method actually does take a little bit of work.
A bit of work, but it's pretty simple.
Okay. All right, Tom, so after about a year, you get to this stage here. This is what you call black gold, right?
It really is gold. I use it both in my flowers and vegetables as a mulch, and also make my own potting mix with coconut coir and perlite.
It's beautiful, and you know what? It does seem simple. You pretty much convinced me. I'm gonna start doing this too. All right, if you wanna know more about composting, go to our website, newcentermaine.com, or go to our mobile app. And let's continue to grow together on Gardening with Gutner. My producer told me to say that. Thanks for watching Gardening with Gutner. Don't forget, you can catch all of our segments on the New Center Maine YouTube channel. And we have a new email address. It's gardeningwithgutner@newcentermaine.com. If you have any suggestions for us, send it there. We'll see you next time. Bye.